shaping is this kind of successive approximations that are getting closer and closer to the desired behavior. So think about a kind of a practical example. Imagine you want your roommate to do the dishes more often. Well, what do you have to do? You have to think like, well, what's rewarding to my roommate? So let's imagine you have a roommate who really enjoys telling stories and enjoys the kind of reward of the attention that you give to those stories. So you think, okay, so my attention is rewarding. So what you might do in this case is, the roommate's never just going to wander over and do the dishes. But what you might do is you might say, okay, what I'm going to do is when they are where the sink is, you'll kind of pay them more attention. So they're telling you a story, and then they wander over towards the sink, and you're like paying close attention, and then they wander away, and you kind of begin to look away and just kind of pretend. And then they go towards the sink, and you pay more attention. So you're kind of there now. You'll notice they're just kind of hanging out by the sink, and then they're just hanging, and then maybe they just put that hand on the sink, and you're like listening very intently, and then they lift the hand up, and then you kind of look away again. And then so what you'll go is they'll get closer and closer to the desired behavior until they're actually kind of telling you the story and doing the dishes as they do so.
So far we've been talking about reward, right? So giving a cat milk or giving your roommate attention, but that's not the only type of consequence that a behavior could have. So we can also think about the opposite of positive reinforcement is punishment. So if reward, positive reinforcement, is something that is going to increase the frequency of the behavior, then punishment is going to be a consequence that decreases the frequency of the behavior. So if every time your roommate goes to do the dishes, you start saying, I don't know why you don't do that more, and that isn't how you load the dishwasher, let me show you how to do it, right? That's, not very much fun to be around. So maybe that is actually going to decrease their likelihood they're going to do it in the future. That's a punishment. So we have reinforcement and you have punishment. Reinforcement increases the frequency of the behavior. Punishment decreases the frequency of the behavior. We can also contrast positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So both positive and negative reinforcement are increasing the frequency of the behavior. So they're consequences that make the behavior more likely. But a positive reinforcer is giving the organism something that they like to increase the frequency of that behavior, whereas negative reinforcement is taking away something that the organism doesn't like when they do that behavior. So for instance, if I'm driving my car without a seatbelt, my car starts to make a very persistent ding, 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 ding sound until I put my seatbelt on, right? So what is that doing? That's increasing the likelihood that I'm going to buckle my seatbelt. It's a reinforcer, but it's not giving me a reward for buckling my seatbelt. It's stopping something that I find very aversive, which is this loud dinging noise when I put my seatbelt on. And so that's negative reinforcement.